Hello, soccer fans. Randy McKee here, and I have a tremendous treat for you today. I have Bill Sage, the Executive Director of U.S. Club Soccer, with us on the line today. Thanks very much, Bill, for spending some time with us today.
You bet.
So, first, especially in our area here in South Dakota, we have only one U.S. Club Soccer club here, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about U.S. Club Soccer, where you're located and how many states you're in and that sort of thing.
Sure. We started in 2001. I had just left the U.S. Soccer Federation as the Chief Administrative Officer, and it was clear that while the state associations were doing some good things with rec soccer and some of their programs, as soccer clubs grew, there was really a need for an organization that specifically focused on club soccer and high-level competitive soccer. And so that's what we did, and we started a national online registration program, did a number of things, issued club passes so players could play in any team in the club in appropriate age groups, did away with all the travel permissions and all that foolishness, and we now have over 2,000 clubs in all 50 states. So we've grown a lot. Our headquarters is really in two locations. Charleston, South Carolina is where our executive office is, and our administrative office is 2 hours away in Myrtle Beach, and then we have other folks all around the country and a total staff of 26 people.
So, looking at your board members, the people who serve for U.S. Club Soccer, it looks to me like what you've done there is put together an organization of coaches instead of an organization of administrators.
That's essentially correct, at least at the board level. The board requirements to be on a board are that you have to have at least 5 years of experience coaching at a high level in a competitive club. You've got to have at least a B coaching license, so by definition you have to have been a coach. And most of our administrative staff are certainly, they've all played the game, with the exception of myself, as it turns out. Too old for that, but our staff historically, the regional staff and the staff here in Charleston either played college soccer, in some cases professional soccer, and many have coached as well.
Well, even though you may not have played the game, and a lot of people haven't, who are still involved, but you've got what I would call a tremendous soccer resume. I mean, you're part of the original part of the MLS crew. You had a huge job with U.S. Soccer Federation. So, I mean, you're obviously very much a soccer guy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think that's probably right. I've been involved with soccer in one capacity or another for about 25 years now, and it's been amazing to see soccer grow. With MLS getting their own stadiums now, which was the big issue about them being economically successful, and soccer clubs. I mean, our philosophy is, and I think it's pretty clear, that soccer clubs are where players are being developed, and we have to support soccer clubs in their growth. Soccer clubs are businesses, and they're in the business of developing players, and to help them make their job easier is what we're all about.
Do you see any kind of issues? I know, on the U.S. youth soccer side, they've had a kind of a running battle with the academy programs.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you stand on that?
Well, the Soccer Federation is the Soccer Federation, and they're going to do what they're going to do. So you can have a problem with it and fight it, or you can embrace it and try to work with it. And the second alternative is the way we approached it. So we have a very close working relationship with the U.S. Soccer Federation, both at the Sunil Gulati and Dan Flynn level, the people that I've known for a long time, but also on the coaching level. So our ID2 program and a lot of things that we do are specifically geared to supporting national team development. And, the fact that the Development Academy chose certain clubs to be part of the initial development academy to us just underscores that they now see the importance of clubs as being the main implementers of player development programs. So, among other things, we have in our National Premier League a pre-academy program consisting of most of the development academies playing younger age groups and in some cases B teams. That really complements the development academy. So we work very closely with them.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure there's not one player in academy that didn't start somewhere else in a club.
Well, that's right, yeah.
So, what sort of regional and national competitions does U.S. Club Soccer have?
Well, we have two things. Number one, historically, we've had the National Cup, which is in its 12th year, and it is a regional competition. It's sort of like the State Cup and the USYS National Championship, but it starts right now. It starts at the regional level. So there are 6 regional events in May, June that lead up to a national championship in late July. And again, we've done that for 12 years now. The new event that we started last year was a national championship for the National Premier Leagues. So our view is that cups and tournaments are important and have a place, but day in and day out, good league competition is really where you best develop players. And so with our National Premier Leagues, which we now have 18 of them around the country, both boys and girls, we had to have a league national championship for them, and we started that last year. So there are really 2 ways then to get involved with the national competition. If you're in the National Premier League, or if you're not in the National Premier League, at 2 competitive levels, you can play in our National Cup.
All right. And I've been looking at your ID2 program. I spent a lot of years as an ODP coach in USYS, and it looks like you've got a really great ID mechanism on the U.S. Club Soccer side as well.
Yeah, our view is that the best place, again, to recognize players is during their club competitions, not pull them into special competitions to identify them for an ODP type of program. So our ID2 program and our player development program, which is one step below, is now sanctioned as a ODP program by the Federation and the Olympic Committee. But the larger differences are that we're scouting players within their own club environment. Maybe most importantly, the ID2 program doesn't cost the players anything once they get to the camp. So we've got 5 ID2 camps annually, and I'm not sure of the number. We probably have 20 player development program camps, which are single day and weekend events. And none of those are any fee or expense to the players. Obviously, there's not a correlation between how good a player you are and whether your family can spend $5,000 or $6,000 a year to do an ODP program. So we took the cost out of that for the players.
Well, what a great idea! And I know having gone to many camps, it's pretty hard. It's got to be pretty hard for a group of coaches to get together, having 600 players there to look at and come out with the best 36.
Yeah, I think on any given day somebody could be injured or nicked up, just have a bad day, and that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what their play potential is, long term or even short term.
So that's one of the ID2 and your national competitions are one ways the clubs benefit. Can you give me a few more benefits from clubs belonging to U.S. Club Soccer?
Well, it's cost effective. So we charge for player registration and for coach registration because we have to do background checks and everything for the federation. But those are the only things we charge for. So we sanction over 450 tournaments a year for our members at no cost. Obviously, tournaments are important fundraisers for clubs, and we let them keep all that money. But I think that just the freedom to develop your own program is really the key thing. It used to be, and I think maybe some states still do have, although it's pretty much gone away, travel permissions where you couldn't go outside of a state to play a game unless you got a permission from some state body to get that done, which always struck us as sort of ludicrous. So we've done away with those obstacles. As I said, we issue club class passes, so a best 14 15-year-old player in your club can move up and play with the 15s on a given day if he wants, and then move back down to the 14s. That's flexibility that each club has to develop their own players. Our league platforms are important. We sanction over 130 leagues in addition to our national Premier League around the country to support league play at a high level. So really anything the clubs need. The other part of it is we now have with the NSCAA, National Soccer Coaches Association, a DOC course that helps club directors of coaching get some skills and some experience and education that they may not have had coming up playing soccer. So that includes business skills, how to form boards of directors, tax and financial issues, marketing plan issues, and just helping clubs get better all around.
Going back to tournaments for just a second, Bill, I know I was reading the other day where you and USYS were kind of tangled up because they, for some reason, were not going to allow, or some state associations wouldn't allow their teams to travel to U.S. club soccer tournaments.
Well, they are free to travel per the Federation bylaws. It's very clear they're free to travel, although that hasn't always been the case. If it's an open tournament, and most tournaments are now open to any USSF member, but very few that are restrictive. But when we won the battle of being able to go to other state association tournaments, the next bright idea was, well, okay, but we're not going to. Well, it's really the other way around. It's a USYS team coming to one of our tournaments, and they said, well, we can't stop you from going, but we won't let your state insurance coverage apply. So, in soccer, as you know, if you don't have insurance coverage, you don't go to an out-of-area tournament. So, we've provided tournament insurance as need be for teams that can't get it through their state association. Costs them a little bit more money, but it helps facilitate even our non-members to go and play in the events that they want to play in.
That mentality from states that wouldn't allow their USYS teams to go to U.S. Club soccer sanctioned tournaments seems kind of the antithesis to being player-centric, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's short-sighted, quite frankly. I think that kids and clubs pay registration fees to the soccer groups, and they're expecting insurance coverage for a 12-month period of time to do whatever they want to do, as long as it's affiliated or sanctioned by a U.S. soccer governing body. And to place those artificial limitations on folks really is, I don't think, it historically ended up being counterproductive, and it hasn't. It's probably driven more membership for us over time, quite frankly. I'm sorry they look at it that way, but we've provided alternatives to folks that are having those issues.
Well, and it appears, obviously, from your registration, I mean, you have many of the top clubs in the United States registered both with USYS and with U.S. Club Soccer.
Yeah, and a lot are now just registering directly with us and not with the state association. So clearly, I don't know the number, but a large percentage of our membership is dual carded. But an increasing percentage is just registering with U.S. Club Soccer directly, especially ones that are otherwise also playing in the Development Academy and in ECNL, which we really haven't talked about, but it's really the girls' side of it's the Development Academy on the girls' side, but it's a league that's sanctioned by us as opposed to run directly by the Federation.
You know, checking out the ECNL, I know my son's a college coach, and he's talking constantly about in the Chicago area about the quality of the players in those ECNL teams.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that it's got most, if not all, of the top women's clubs involved in that program, and it's been easy for the Federation to see the quality on the girls' side without having to run an expensive and administrative heavy Development Academy program like they are on the boys' side.
Well, we have I guess about four major sanctioned organizations through the USSF. What are some of the struggles that we see between all these organizations, or do you see an increase in that or a decrease, or how are those organizations getting along with each other?
Well, I think it's decreased over time. I mean, AYSO was around before we were, and they've had a lot of battles historically with their issues are somewhat slightly different because they're heavy rec oriented, but they do have some competitive teams that they want to go play in a tournament. So opening up tournaments to any federation member has always been a big issue of theirs. That I think largely has been accomplished now. So you've got AYSO and SAY that are really focused on the rec side, and I think they historically have had some issues with some of the state associations. We do some rec registration, but mostly competitive, and our issues are on the competitive side. But I can say over time, I think organizations have learned to sort of get along with each other in a lot more positive way. I think everybody knows we're here to stay. Obviously, AYSO is, and the states are. So, we just really have to look to do what we can to improve the game and make the soccer experience as positive as we can for the youth players. And I think generally we're all doing that, perhaps somewhat in different ways.
Well, Bill, a couple more questions. With your obviously, still connected at the MLS level with so many of those people there. We've been hearing a lot of talk lately about having the national teams look, the men's national team look a little deeper into MLS to bring some of those American-based players into the national team. And what do you see happening there?
Well, I think that happens over time. I think the larger issue is to what extent Major League Soccer is really going to do their own player development programs. I know that's been a big issue of controversy even when I was at MLS. Whether it's, I guess the model is it an NFL model or a Major League Baseball model where you've got affiliates and you're actually developing players from a younger age, or whether you're in NFL and you cherry pick the best players after they've had a collegiate career or come from some other place. I think they're still going through that analysis. I think international transfers have had a big part of that to make MLS think they really needed to get into player development directly. So I think that whole thing is playing itself out.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that a lot more with some of the very good academies we're seeing being run by some of the clubs. So that makes a lot of sense. Well, when it comes to youth soccer and specifically competitive soccer, what do you think the future holds for American soccer?
Well, I think it's just getting better and better. I mean, I think there are people that are concerned about total registration numbers, and I think that I think there are at least two issues. I think one's just a pure demographic issue. Less kids at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old that are just pure demographic numbers. Lacrosse is clearly growing, so players and young athletes that may not be committed to one sport may have other options now. Football numbers may be diminishing. Baseball is still big, so there are plenty of options out there. But I think one of the big changes that has really helped soccer is because it is an international sport, and with the plethora of now of international programming on television, it's amazing to me, really, since I've been involved, of how many, what a following a number of the international clubs now have in this country, and I think that's just good for the game.
Yeah,
because it clearly it's soccer is one thing that is a differentiator with all other professional sports, and given the significant international component, and then of course the World Cup.
I read an article a couple days ago that was written by your chairman talking about the soccer culture in America, and that thing just struck so close to home. And I think the point he makes, like you were just saying, that we do have a great soccer culture in America, but we also have a baseball culture, a football culture, a basketball culture. But the soccer culture in America is alive and well.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's evolving too. So, our club system is different than you'd see any other parts of the world. It's a very American kind of a soccer club program, and that's what we're all about helping develop.
Well, Bill Sage, Executive Director of U.S. Club Soccer, I can't thank you enough for being on Soccer 605 with us today. I think you've really done a good job explaining how U.S. Club Soccer works, and hopefully our listeners and viewers and visitors to Soccer 605 will get a lot of good out of it.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for giving us the time.